What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And we're going to step away from film today, and we're going to do sort of a pilot review for 911 Nashville, because I'm tired. I'm going to go ahead and do the first two episodes. I held off on the first episode because it ends on a cliffhanger, and I was like, all right, well, we'll see how this goes. Because it kind of felt like a two-parter. But now episode 2 ends on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, I can't just keep waiting for you to not have a cliffhanger for me to have a cohesive review of your show. So I'm not that interested in 911 Nashville, so I don't know how long I'm going to stick with it, but only like a few more episodes maybe before I do, so I feel like I've done enough for a Rotten Tomatoes review. Anyway, yes, I'm a Tomato Meter approved critic, so subscribe. Fun fact, don't just let the quality of my video or the lack of a microphone disillusion you. I am the preeminent blind film critic, and we're going to talk about 911 Nashville, which is narrated by Roy Samuelson for audio description purposes. And I hope it continues to be, too, because thank fucking God. What is this, point 360? It's got to be point 360 because they're doing shifting gears also. ABC has got to cut ties with the other company that they're using for shows like Abbott Elementary, High Potential, and Will Trent. That has got to go. We have got to move on. So I would like to say to ABC as warmly as humanly possible, this is one of the best audio description tracks you have on your network. Thank you. Thank you for this. But it's, and this is the second spinoff, third in the 911 series, or I guess fourth. Are we counting Dr. Odyssey since they brought it in? Technically Dr. Odyssey, because the cast of 911, Angela Bassett, like they overlap Dr. Odyssey with the flagship 911 series. Maybe this is like now the third spinoff of the show. If Dr. Odyssey is considered a spinoff, I don't know where you put that in the 911 canon, but so this stars Chris O'Donnell, Jessica Capshaw, who's returning to ABC after Grey's Anatomy. You know, she had a really long and memorable run on Grey's Anatomy. And we've brought some country stars along with us, including Kimberly Williams-Paisley, who, she's done a little bit of singing. She's more of an actress, though, but she's that Paisley is there for a reason. And she's absolutely married to Brad Paisley. And we have Leanne Rimes. Look at that. So Leanne Rimes is here for good measure. She's playing a singer, and she's trying to pretend like she can't sing as well as she used to. It's really an Emmy-worthy performance for Rimes. I mean an all jest, because I do also watch The Masked Singer, and she won a season of The Masked Singer fairly recently, and she was slaying it like every week. So her voice is absolutely there, but it's funny, she's playing this character, Dixie, who doesn't have... I love the names that we've chosen for people too. We've got like Dixie, Roxy, Blue, you know, like it's somebody's opinion of Tennessee. Somebody's version of Tennessee, that all these names exist. But O'Donnell is now the 911 franchise kind of focuses on all of the first responders, like firemen, paramedics, police officers, and the actual 911 operators, which is what I believe Kimberly Williams-Paisley is for this. She's the Jennifer Love Hewitt of this show. But I think we're basically focusing on firefighters. I'm having a hard time figuring out what Jessica Capshaw does here other than be the wife to Chris O'Donnell. I'm going to assume she works somewhere, though, doing something, and we just haven't given her much to do other than be the wife of Chris O'Donnell. And the pilot starts with Chris's character, it's like Ron, It's something really boring. And Chris has picked up a nice country accent for himself. It's not very thick, it's not cartoonish, but he has a little bit of a country accent. So if you don't immediately recognize it as Chris O'Donnell, just imagine if Chris O'Donnell had a country accent, and that'll help. Um, but yeah, if you're used to hearing him on NCIS Los Angeles all those years, or you're familiar with his film work, yeah, this doesn't sound like him. But it is. If you listen carefully, he's still in there. Um, and he's running. He's a fire captain, and his lieutenant is actually his son Ryan, who's played by an actor I'm not familiar with. And in the series premiere, he is given a another son, Blue, which he knows he has, but he is with this other woman, Dixie, Leanne Rimes, who's a session singer, um, who records like background vocals and stuff. And so Blue is wants to be like his dad and wants to be a first responder, and so he becomes the new probie at the firehouse within the first episode. And then tornadoes strike Nashville because this area does get tornadoes. That's accurate. And I appreciated the fact that we went with sort of like a realistic disaster. Kane Brown makes a cameo in the first episode as it's his concert that's attacked by a tornado. So, and the second episode is because it's a carryover. It really is like a part one and a part two. Like it ends with one thing and then picks up right where it left off if you wait for the second week. So there's still like a storm of tornadoes that they're dealing with, even though it feels like when they drop back for the drama, like there isn't a high amount of tornadic activity, or they're just super chill about it. They're just like, yeah, they're tornadoes, but they're always tornadoes. It's like, y'all are first responders, like you should be, but they're trying to, like, I don't know, teach Blue some, how to do his job, and because he's brand new to the firehouse, and we're getting introduced to other characters as well. We have at least two female firefighters that work alongside Ryan and Blue that are in that firehouse. It's not a huge firehouse. I think the other shows have benefited because they've sort of shared, and it's this weird overlap. Like 911, Lone Star had this huge overlap with the paramedics. So basically, every time they showed up, the paramedics were also there, so it felt like it was a larger group. 911 is focusing a lot now on Angela Bassett because they didn't really have anybody else to focus on because they've killed everybody else off at that point, or they're not as big of name characters, I mean, some of them are still like first season characters. They're just, let's face it, I mean, you have Angela Bassett. You started that show with more people who were a little bit closer to being on her level, like Peter Krause, and now it's just Angela Bassett carrying 911 on her shoulders. So, I don't need this series, but I appreciate it, for going to Nashville instead of somewhere super obvious like Chicago or New York. Since we have so many shows that take place in like a couple very specific places, it's nice when we go to a slightly less used place, although there are more less used places than this. 911 St. Louis, 911 Kansas City, 911, I guess, I don't know, Minneapolis. I mean, like, there are other places that we can go that we don't always have a ton of shows coming out of. And obviously, I mean, there is a show called Nashville. So we have had other shows that have come out of Nashville. We've had shows that are about country music stars trying to make it in the industry that have come out of Nashville. So it's not like there's never been a show in Nashville. And I also interestingly wonder if they actually shoot in Nashville or if they're just shooting in northern Georgia and trying to pretend like a lot of this is in, because so much is shot in Georgia nowadays. It'd be kind of weird to not shoot it in Nashville, though. So maybe they're just paying a little bit higher rate to shoot in Nashville. I don't know, but you'd be surprised. Shows that just do a lot of like establishing shots of the city, but then they actually shoot somewhere else. Uh, this is fine. I'm giving it some props um, for starting off at like a reasonable level, because the 911 franchise has a tendency to go absolute apeshit when it comes to the things that it expects us to believe would really happen, the kind of emergencies that these teams have to face. Like, it started off being semi-realistic, and it completely lost its mind. Like, the stuff that they deal with now, I think there's somebody who falls out of space and then is eaten by a whale in the 911 season 9 premiere. That's where they're at now. And that's not even the craziest thing that's happened on that show. Lone Star famously ended with like possible dual apocalypse. There was like an asteroid that was coming out of the sky and was going to land in Austin. At the same time, there was also like possible nuclear fallout as the power plant was collapsing. So they had to deal with both of those things in the finale. uh, so yeah, uh, a tornado in Nashville is pretty simple. It feels very accurate for where they are, and it gives us a chance to meet these characters. I don't know how long we're going to keep this. I'll say Leanne Rimes feels very peripheral as a character. I don't know how long she's going to be on the show because she has nothing to do with saving people's lives. And since she's not the one that's currently married to Chris O'Donnell, she's just the mother of Blue. I don't know that she's going to be on the show very long. She feels like a character who could be written off in some sort of like big character arc danger sequence. I would already peg her for that, and I don't even know where the series is going. She just feels eligible because the show has a hard time balancing cast anyway. These series of people who are not directly connected to, which is why so many people work in and around things. They don't have, other than having kids, they don't usually have people who are just husbands and wives. Everybody is like some kind of a first responder. 911 Lone Star, the lieutenant in that show, Judd, his wife was the 911 operator. So for that show, until she exited right before the last season for reasons I'm still unclear of. And yeah, I mean, people get married, which is what makes the beginning of this so weird, because Ryan is the one of the sons, who's the lieutenant, is married to Sam, who is a nurse at a hospital. And they're like, our schedules just don't align. I'm like, that doesn't matter. I've seen these shows before. Like, you guys are a perfect pairing because you're the only pairing that's ever going to exist. You're going to have to work somewhere. And she's like, well, this is not a marriage. And this is why I think that Jessica Capshaw works somewhere, because Ryan says something about like how his parents make it work, yeah, so she must work somewhere. But no, like Sam wants a divorce because she wants a real husband who doesn't have, I guess, a schedule. He'll just work around hers. So she's like, they're like ships passing in the night, and it doesn't work for her. Okay, well, this has never been a problem for anybody else on 911. So it's usually the only way anybody ever gets to see each other on screen, because we don't have time for you to ever go home and for us to learn home life. So most of the other characters, I've seen all 3 shows, and they're all basically, the families are like, oh, I work here and then you work there, and we're both saving lives. Look at that. So it's a promising start for people who like 911, and we'll see if Nashville holds up. It's the kind of thing where it could fall off. I think 911 is kind of reaching the end of its tenure. Luckily 911 paid Angela Bassett whatever she was asking for. I hope that woman asked for the moon. I hope if she's not getting at least $500,000, she dumb. Like, I love Angela Bassett, but you could at least be above 500K. I know network television doesn't have a lot. That show has nothing without Angela Bassett right now. There's no one on that show that anybody's going to tune in for, but they are still leaning so heavily on her character that Yeah, the show is basically all Angela Bassett. She's carrying that show on her back, and there were episodes in season 8 that basically highlighted that, where it was just all Athena all the time, and then the other characters played by lesser known actors. So, uh, yeah, Chris O'Donnell is going to have to carry this, but right now, he has a couple of other well recognizable faces and names. He's got Jessica Capshaw, Kimberly Williams-Paisley, and Leanne Rimes, who are all worthy of people tuning in to see them if you're aware of who, what their previous work is. So, if it can keep up that momentum, maybe it can get a couple seasons in. Lone Star only ran for 5 seasons, and I actually liked Lone Star. I actually liked Lone Star more than 911. So, I don't know how long Nashville's going to run for. As far as a review, I will say that if I'm going to put it on the Tomato Meter review, that I'm going to let it go a couple more episodes just so that I can get my bearings. The season 2 finale ends on a kind of a crazy note that means nothing, because I don't think for a second they're ever going to kill off Chris O'Donnell, but his life is in the balance. So we'll see how that resolves before I put a Tomato Meter review up for the show. And yeah, it's just more of the same, but it's toned down, and I like that. But I know it's going to ramp up. I know as soon as I put a Tomato Meter review in for the show, going like, oh, it's going back to the roots. They'll have some crazy shit where like the moon falls out and lands on Tennessee, and they have to save everybody. Moon falls out of orbit. Moonfall, but in Nashville. Like, I have no idea the ground opens up in Nashville, is swallowed into the depths of hell. I have no idea what's going to happen, but it will happen on the show. Because if it hasn't happened yet on one of the other 911 spinoffs, it's in fair game. Fair game. Zombies, I don't know. Something's going to happen in 911 Nashville that's going to take it immediately like over the edge, and I'm going to not want to watch it anymore. So Lone Star waited a little bit longer to start going cuckoo bit for Cocoa Puffs. So did 911, to be fair. Really, 911 kind of went off the edge when it moved to ABC. Like, full off the edge. Like, once it moved to ABC, ABC has a completely different version of, like, what 911 should be. And these last couple seasons have just been like, what on earth? What is happening? So, I don't think I'm going to go fresh on this. But it's hovering. It's hovering around a 6. I could see if it is going to go rotten, it's going to be like 5.5 to 6. If they can pick up in the next couple episodes and give me more character development, which is what I'm looking for, and continue to flesh out these characters naturalistically and give me sort of emergencies that feel like they happen on a more regular basis instead of like crazy shit, like a T-Rex appearing out of nowhere. I don't know what they're going to do, but it's 911. Anything is on the table. So, if they can restrain themselves, I'll think about a fresh rating. But if they can't, it's going to be rotten. Like the minute they do something absolutely batshit crazy for Nashville, done. Because I'm on the fence right now with this. So there you go. Should you watch 911 Nashville? I think it'll play well to fans of 911 franchises, but no one else. So I don't think this is your gateway. The only reason this would be a gateway is if you didn't want to go back and start Lone Star or 911 from the beginning, but you try to check out 911 where it's at right now, and you're like, oh, well, this is a bit much. Well, this is not. This is a walk back. Like, they're not quite at the, crazy catastrophes that 911 is trying to tackle on the ridiculous storylines. They're not there yet. So you can warm up to it and see if you like the cast. That would be the only reason that I think anybody would want to watch it who's not already a 911 fan. Otherwise, this is sort of like following the same, like, do you like NCIS? Do you like CSI? Do you like FBI? Do you like Law and Order? Do you like Chicago? Well, here's another one. So, we'll see. Anyway, yeah, it's hovering. So I'm on the fence. I'm leaning rotten though, but I am admittedly on the fence. I don't think it doesn't scream like run from the show, but also it's not giving me a whole lot of reasons to give it a vote of confidence. So anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.